Hi, this is Darren from SimNation again. Uh, Today, I wanted to take a step back from what I normally do, and I want to focus on how do you begin in a league. So at SimNation, we have SNCFL. It's our Draft Day Sports College Football 22 League. Um, it's a it's a really good league. I recommend it. And of course, Draft Day Sports College Football 22 is from Wolverine Studios. If you haven't picked up this new version, it's worth it. The playbook editions, the look and feel, plus all the different mechanics within the game around coaching, recruiting, things like that. It definitely feels much better than the last version. So I do highly recommend it. And of course, at SNCFL, we run Draft Day Sports College Football version 22. But getting back to kind of how you get started, if you're going to play in an online league, there are a couple different approaches you can take. One is if you're like me, I chose Maryland because Maryland is my favorite college football team. So I was going to pick them regardless of what they had and what they didn't have. But if you want to be successful right off the bat, running the system that you want to run, I would say do your research. Find a team that matches most what you want to do, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then you'll be able to largely implement that system pretty much in your first season. But if you're like me and you're choosing your favorite team, you're probably not going to be able to do what you really want to do in your first season. You're going to have to focus on what you have available and then build off that while you recruit and you hire staff that will allow you to get to where you ultimately want to be. And that was the case with Maryland and SNCFL. When I first started, I wanted to throw the ball. I didn't have good quarterbacks, and it was pretty disastrous. I probably had one of my few losing seasons in the first season or two before I managed to recruit enough to get the right system in place. And of course, I've changed Maryland's system probably 3 times now, where initially they were pass oriented offense, then they became a rushing attack. Now they're moved to a more of an RPO, which is a run pass option. Um, and I've had pretty good success with them because I recruit the players that I need. I'm not recruiting based on rank or 5 or 4 stars. I really focus hard on the type of players that fit my system. And that's going to be a key when we talk about recruiting. But when you first start, the first thing you should do is you should be looking at your roster and you should be looking at your coaching staff. And the reason for this is it's going to tell you what you can do and what you can't do. Now, here's the thing. If you want to run a system and you don't care about the results in the first season, run that system. It doesn't matter. But the problem with that is if you have losing seasons, you're not going to recruit well. So just keep that in the back of your mind. What I would advocate is anytime you take a team, unless you're picking a team that already matches the system you want to run, is what you should be doing is thinking about what can you run while you recruit to get to where you want to be, and then start incorporating those things. So in this case, I chose Maryland. I didn't kill what they had and what they didn't have. In the long term, I want them to be an RPO, and then I want a hybrid defense of where I can run a 4-3, 3-4, 5-2, which means I'm going to need a lot of depth on the line, and I'm going to need to have good linemen who can do both run and pass, and I'm going to have the linebackers that are pretty quick and agile and speedy in a secondary that allows me to play man. I don't like zone. So that means I'm going to need speed over agility in the secondary. So the first thing I want to look at is I want to look at my coaching staff. And this is important. For some people, you want your coaching staff to call your plays. For some people, you don't want them to. You just want them to develop talent and train and then kind of hone those final edges. So what I will tell you right off the bat is I've already looked at my staff, but I'm going to show you I would not let any of these 3 people call a play for me. Or I would not use their playbooks because I don't have confidence in their ability to call plays. So I'm going to use my own playbooks. I'm going to set it to where they call the plays I want against the percentages I want. So first things first is what I'm looking for here is I want to know what this guy's good at, right? So he's good at coaching defense. I theoretically could let him coach defense, but I'm not going to. He's a developer in the new addition in this game is the concept of pipeline. So these are states from which coaches recruit best. So always write down the pipelines because that's when you're recruiting. Those are the states you're going to focus. Now I'm going to be candid. North Dakota and Maine are not recruiting hotspots, right? So I am likely not going to be able to use Luttrell as a recruiter, and I'm going to have to focus on other states. But he can coach defense. He's got good personality. He's an okay scouter, but he really sucks at training. His best area is skill position, so that's going to be quarterback or running back. So I just need to keep that in the back of mind because when I get to training, that's going to matter. Look at my offensive coordinator. He's got good personality, but he really, outside of training quarterbacks, he kind of sucks. Again, I'm not looking at their offensive preferences and their defensive preferences because initially I looked at this and I went, there's no way I'm letting any of these guys call a play. They will, but not in the way that I would normally do it. So I am going to be influenced by his offensive preferences. So I'm going to need to factor a spread in because that's one of the things he likes. But defensively, I don't got to worry about that. But from this perspective, from a quarterback, he can train quarterbacks. That seems to be what he's good at. He'll just want to keep in factor that he also likes a spread, which is good because I'm intending to run a spread. And then when I look at Lauren O'Leary, who's my defensive coordinator, he's physical linebacker development type guy. He doesn't have great stats. Again, he's an okay at assessing ability, but the good thing about him is he uh, likes the 3-4, and you're going to see why that's important in a minute. So don't have a great coaching staff, but immediately what I want to do is look at my roster. And here's why. The roster will determine what I can run. So I'm just going to say flat out I'm not okay with losing this season. So I want to run some type of system that I feel I can run. If that's the RPO, that's great. If it's not, then I'll figure it out. So when I look at my quarterbacks, traditionally in an RPO or any type of option, you want to have quarterbacks who have speed, agility, and arm strength isn't as important. Accuracy and intelligence probably are. Skill is always important, and they got to have good endurance. So in this case, I actually have quarterbacks who have good arms. They're not highly accurate. They've got intelligence and they got speed. So when I look at it, the two that stand out is Keegan and Webb. Webb probably will be the starter because he's more accurate. He's got the same amount of intelligence, but his skill differentiates him from Keegan. Keegan's probably my backup. Della Garza is a sophomore. When I look at him, he's got good stats, but his speed is pretty bad. I'm probably going to want to put him on some type of physical type of schedule, and he's probably the guy I'm going to ask my offensive coordinator to mentor because he looks like he needs it. Running back, again, RPOs, there's going to be a lot of outside running, a lot of cutbacks. So one of the things I probably want to look at here is speed. Hands is always important. Skill is important. So is endurance. But if I'm going to run inside, I care more about agility and strength. If I'm going to run outside, I care more about speed and agility. In this case, I'm probably going to run outside a lot more because I'm going to do a lot of options. So immediately what stands out to me is that probably my two best running backs are Dunn and Callahan. Callahan probably is the better inside runner because of his agility, but I have a sense that he's probably going to be the better of the two, but Dunn will be my starter. Callahan will be my change of pace back, and then Walsh will be my inside runner because he's got good hands in 100 and he's a junior. Now, the one thing here is I don't have anybody who's really a strong back other than James, and his hands are okay, so I may use him as like a goal line back, but I think I'll probably use Dunn as my goal line, and then I'll use Callahan as my third down. Fullback matters because I am going to run an RPO. I got a good fullback who's got good run blocking. He's pretty strong, so Gilman will definitely be the starter. When you get an offensive line, what you need to think about here is which direction are you going to run? So if you're going to go strong side, which is where the tight end is normally, that's the right side. If you're going to go against the tight end and try to catch people off guard, you're going to go left. So you want to put your best run blocker in the direction you're going to run. You want to put your best um, pass blocker on the side that you expect the pass rush to come from the most. So in this case, I got pretty good linemen. They have a good skill. They got good speed. They're decently strong. I don't have anybody who's excessively strong. But I don't see a problem here. So Nash and Thornton definitely are going to be my two starters. Basham will probably be the backup. Just based on if this works the way I'm thinking it is Nash will probably be on the right side because I think I'm going to run right against the strong side, and I would put Thornton on the left side. And again, these are interior linemen, so speed is not as important as agility, but still nice to have speed. What this tells me is I can do some things where the guard may pull, so I may be able to get away with counters. I may be able to get away with different RPO plays. At tackle, it's not great, but it's not bad. I have decent speed. I got one pretty strong guy, and then agility's decent. So probably what I'll do here is Wilkins will hands down be on the right side. He'll be the right tackle. And then I'll probably put Bendel on the left side because Bendel has the better pass blocking. He's intelligent. He's got good speed. And then Williams will probably back them up. At center again, this one's a no-brainer because my other two centers are pretty bad, but McCaffrey would be the starter because he just has the best skills overall. Now, tight end, what I see here immediately is I have no depth. So what that means is I can't run two tight end sets. So I'm going to need to focus on one tight end sets. What I also notice immediately is I have one tight end that is really good at catching the ball, and in the receiving game, I have the other tight end that's really good in the running game. So when I do my formations, I'm going to want Lay to be the starter on running downs. I'm going to want Barth to be the starter on passing downs. And again, I'm not going to run two tight end sets, so I'm going to run one tight end sets, which now means that I can't run a two tight end jumbo, an I formation jumbo. So I'm going to be a little bit limited in what I can do here, and it likely means that I'm going to probably have to run some form of a shotgun. Wide receiver, I've got good wide receivers. They've got speed, they've got hands, they've got skill, they've got, for the most part, agility. So yeah, I'm pretty good here. So my best wide receiver is Ordonez. He'll probably be wide receiver 1. I like to put my faster wide receivers in wide receiver 2, but that would be Jessup. But he's got really good agility, so I'm probably going to put him at wide receiver 3 in the slot because agility matters more there. And I'm probably going to make Walden wide receiver number 2. And then I'm going to look here and see who the backup should be. So when I look at him, Jessup doesn't need to come out that often. Ordonez, he's okay. Walden's okay. So I'm probably going to be able to platoon my wide receivers at an 80%. Same with my running backs. They all seem to have good endurance. So when I get to formations, what you'll notice is I'm probably going to do something like a 3 and a 1. I'm sorry, a 4 and a 1, so that's 80%. That means my people will play 80% of the time. In the wide receivers, I'm going to leave my offensive linemen straight when we get into depth, so that way there's no issue there. So what I'm talking about is this. So I'm just going to set this, but when you have your depth chart, and I'm just doing this real quick, is when you want to switch people in and out, and I don't recommend switching linemen in and out, by the way, is so for me, my default offense is always my running down play. Uh, Offensive package 2 is my primary passing down play, and then offensive package 3 is my substitution packages for my rushing. Offensive package 4 is my substitution package for my passing plays. So what I would do here is, because I want a platoon, is I would probably say I would flip this to say Ordenes is changed, and then we said Walden. So what I would do is just, I'm randomly picking these, but Walden would be my backup. If you notice, what I'm doing is I'm putting in someone ahead of my normal starter in this package, because this is going to be the one where I would swap them in and out. And the frequency in which I do that is determined under strategy, under formations. So I've already identified, and I didn't kind of talk about this, is based on what I saw on my depth chart, is I formation, spread, shotgun. Spread because in shotgun, because I have the wide receivers, I'm probably going to run 4 wide receivers. So instead of doing shotgun, I'm going to do shotgun 4, and then I'll do spread, which is mostly wide receivers too, and then I formation for my running deck plays. So what that means is, for run plays, I'm going to set this to 4. That means that it's going to run that 4 out of 5 plays. Set that to 1. So what that means is my wide receivers will play 80% of the time, my starters, and then 20% of the time my backups will come in. And then because I want to do that, I'm going to swap that out, make that like that. And now I've set my depth. Now you do the same thing on defense, right? And you want to base this on endurance. So let's just finish this real quick, because this is going to be important. So look at my defensive tackles. I noticed something almost immediately. My defensive tackles suck. They're not good. I got one decent one in Marlowe. All the other ones are not good. So what this immediately tells me is I can't run a 4-3. I'm going to need to run a 3 lineman set. So that means that largely it's going to be 3-4, 3-3-5, and dime. I could run corridor if I wanted to. Marlowe's hands down the starter, and then Coyle probably is the backup, and then one of these other guys. Defensive end, I've got great speed, I've got good agility, and I've got good strength. So I can pass rush off the edges pretty good. Reneso is definitely the best. When I look at this, I would probably say that Register is the next highest one up there. So these probably are my 2 pass rush downs. Register and Reynoso and Halsey are probably my 2 rushing downs, rushing defense players. And again, like what I showed you formations, I'll do the same thing with the depth chart, where I would say that Register and Reynoso are on default defense, and then defense 1 is my pass, defense 2 is my backups or my rotation, and defensive package 3. So it'd be Register and Reynoso on default defense, it'd be Reynoso and Halsey on defense 2, and then based on what I see here, I'd probably put in Han as my rushing down backup, and Bishop would also be that. And I may actually just have them be on both. That's not uncommon. When I look at linebackers, what I see is I've got a good spread, I've got good speed, I've got good tackling. So the way I normally do linebackers is my best tackler I normally stick in the middle, unless he's fast. In this case, Gobble is not, but he's a great tackler. He's got good skills. He's got other intangibles. So Gobble would be my starting middle linebacker. Um, my If I'm running a 3-4, probably the next guy in there would be, you know what, I'd probably put Livingston because he's decent. He's slow, but he's not going to see the field that often. Um, and then on the outside, I'd probably put Hickson and Watson. Watson, I think, is going to be my radio player, so he'll be the defensive leader. Um, and then I'll look and identify backups as well. So Sweat is probably going to be the backup to the outside guy. Same with Reynolds. And what I'm basing that on is traditionally your outside linebackers are the ones that are going to be in coverage more. They're going to be blitzing, so you want them to be faster. And you want them to have decent hands. And traditionally, they're not going to have as good of tackling ability. Whereas your inside linebackers, they need to be stronger, more agile, better tacklers, because a lot of teams are going to run at them. So that's how I figure it. If I run a 3-3-5, what that means is that I'll have the middle linebacker, the right outside linebacker, and the left outside linebacker. If I run a 3-4, of course, then I'll have two inside linebackers and so on. And then, of course, if I run a dime, I'm only going to really have two linebackers. No, three. So same thing. So when you look at it, I've got a good spread, so I can definitely run a 3-4. I can run a 3-3-5. I can run a dime based on linebackers. Secondary will help me figure out, can I run dime more, or am I going to have to run a 3-4? What I see immediately is I've got good corners. I've got good speed. Again, I can play man coverage. I don't need to play zone. Difference between man and zone is when you look at man, you want to have speed and intelligence and skill. For zone, if you don't have speed, you're looking at for agility and hands. So I've got speed and I've got hands and I've got intelligence, so I can play man. So it looks like Nowak and Rowley will be the two starters. And I'll use Sanford and Bailey probably as the backups and maybe put them into dime packages. Safety wise, I've got one really good safety in Henderson. He can play the whole game. It looks like Preston will probably go into some form of a nickelback or something like that, or dime in this case. And then the same thing here is Morrison and Ralph are both pretty phenomenal. Ralph will probably be the starter. Morrison will probably find himself in the dime. Kickers and punters, in this case, Cruz would start because he's got the better leg. And in this case, almost equal, I would probably put McGee because he has higher intelligence and he can kick further. So as you notice, I've already done a couple things. I've identified from a training perspective who I want to do what. So I'll just do this real quick. We'll call this physical. The key for training is, in this case, I'm going to do something weird. I'm going to do this 7, 7, so it's 14. You never want to go above 22, by the way. So what I'm probably going to do is make those 4. So anyone I think that I needs to have physical training, I'm going to put on this. So physical, and I would just go through and do that. we talked about this earlier, is I had made the decision that he was going to train up Walsh, if I can find him. There he is. He's going to train up Della Garza. We did this back at the beginning, and then he's going to train up a linebacker, and I didn't talk about that, but that'll be Gomez. And then, of course, that's the training. So you just fill this out. Again, I mentioned don't go above 22. If you do, you're going to hurt people. It's not worth it. So in this case, I generally want everyone else to have a decent amount of these two because it looks like they could use it, and then go from there. Strategy wise, when you begin the game for the first time, if you've never played, you have two choices. You can use the coach's default offense and defense and then just change the frequencies. Or what you can do is go in and create your own custom. When you first start, you're not going to know what works and what doesn't unless you've played for a while. In this case, I mentioned before that I'm going to go with I formation spread SG4 based on what I saw on my players. And then what I'll do here is I'll look at these plays and I will figure out the ones I think that works best for me. I have good wide receivers, do end around right. Let's just say 4-back dive right, jet sweep right. And again, I'm going to throw in some left plays as well because it makes sense. In the beginning, a lot of times I just choose all the plays I want to do, but I played for a while and I know that some of these aren't going to work. Like off tackle right is a good play. You traditionally do off tackle left because that's a good play. Pitches don't work as well as they should. Slams are great if you have great guards and a great 4-back, and I do. But I don't traditionally go to the weak side. Stretch is new, but sweeps work. And then I'm going to counter a lot of times to the opposite side. So like I'll counter left. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier is I know my guards are pretty good and my center is pretty good. So anything that looks like it goes between the guard and the center, I am probably okay running to the left side. But because I put a tackle out there that doesn't have great run blocking, but he has great pass blocking, I don't want to run to the left too often because he's not made for that. And again, it's matchup, right? But I would do this with pass. Again, I'm going to look at to see what I think I'm good at. So I have good wide receivers. I have good running backs who have good hands. I have one good tight end. So what I'm going to look here is just find the plays that seem like they make sense. My speed is not that good that I would do a tight end post for the tight end, but core flats, I can go medium or I can go long because I have speed. If I didn't, I would be going short. Like if I had wide receivers with 60 and 70 speed but good hands and good agility, I would do short game passing. Here I can just mix it up. And then on the defensive side, so I'll show you in a little bit how this has stacked out. But on the defense again, I traditionally have a run and a pass set. So what I would do is I would call this maybe, let's just say I'm going to do a 3-3-5. We'll call this 3-4, 3-3-5, dime. R stands for run. This is going to be mine. So I'm going to choose mostly run plays out of the 3-4, 3-3-5. And each week I'm going to hone in this playbook. So I'm going to look and see what works and what doesn't. Anything that traditionally is from a running perspective, giving up more than 3.5 yards per carry, I probably don't want to keep that in there. I want to get it out of there. Anything that passing wise gives up more than 4 or 5, unless I'm getting a lot of INTs off of it, definitely want to get that out of there as well. So in this case, we'll add And then what I'm looking for here is anything that says focus of run. Again, I don't want to run zone, and the reason for that. Now, you do want to mix in some plays that are pass, but 3-4 spies would do that because that's a run. Again, I don't want to have zone because I have the people who can do it. And then I'm just going to continue to do this and go through and find all the ones. I'm going to avoid anything that says zone because I just don't want to have to deal with that. But again, I'm trying to find the ones I think that work. And it'll be typically focused balanced or focused run. I use the balance to kind of offset for the pass, and then I just keep doing it across the different formations I intend to use. We talked about formations already. Game planning. Traditionally, you're going to want your own playbook. Attitude, aggressive means that you're going to go for it more often. You can take riskier plays. Conservative means that you're going to go for it on fourth down less often, and you're going to generally try to go with high return plays over high risk plays. Focus, again, based on what you're calling over here. So if you set this to 1, your focus can be on pass. You're still going to run the ball. And again, if you set it to 1, that means you're going to run almost every down. If you set it to 99, you're going to pass every down. I tend to go with conservative because I've gotten burned a couple times, but depending on what I'm going to do, because I want to do an RPO, I'm probably going to do run. I go with normal. Again, if you're playing against a team that's very fast, you want to run very slow. If you're going against a team that is very slow, or you're going with a high octane passing attack, you want to go fast. The key though with the tempo though is you got to have the endurance to match the tempo. So if you're choosing very fast, make sure you have the endurance to do it. Otherwise, you're going to wipe your players out. Here I traditionally go balanced, but again, I mentioned if you have highly agile but not very fast wide receivers, you'd go short. In this case, I can go balanced. Passing target, you're just telling it where to throw the ball. So if you choose outside, they're going to focus more on throwing outs and plays that go to the outside. If you choose tight ends, they're going to focus on the tight end, running back, and so forth, so on. I choose balanced. We mentioned this earlier. Ordonez is my number 1. Third down back will be Callahan. Goal line back will be Dunn. I'll just have to find him through this. There he is. And then I don't need to focus on inside, outside, power, 3 wide receiver set. I'm just going to go balanced. And then I'll mix that. Same thing with this. I'm going to mix it. And then because I want to run the ball more often, I'm going to have them do it more often. Attitude with defense, same thing. Is if you choose aggressive, you're going to blitz often. If you choose conservative, you're not going to blitz often. I tend to run balanced, but in this case, I'll just say conservative. And then again, what are you focusing on? I choose balanced a lot of times here. And then the coverage, I'm going to choose man because I want to be more in man. But if depending on what you put in your playbook, if you're putting a lot of mixed or zone, if you're putting a lot of mixed or pass, run mixed. And then here again, I want to pass rush. I want to mixed. So this is going to help me in my playbook with what the coordinator is going to call. And then, of course, the best one is Watson. We talked about that. I don't align and so on. Now, one new feature in this game, just to think about, is so here again is I would choose based on what it is. So I would have a P and I'll choose that. But one of the things that is new, and I like this feature, is I tend to ignore what's happening on goal line. Because if I have a good defense, it's working. I have a good offense, it's working. I don't want them changing it once I get in the red zone. Now, if you are throwing a lot of long passes, you probably want to change to a goal line. or a red zone offense, which is shorter passes, and that's where you would not want to ignore it. You'd want to set that to whatever that is. And then, of course, you can ignore these as well to say that if I'm winning, I don't want to change the way I'm playing. If I'm losing, I don't want to change the way I'm playing. Um, Typically, losing, you might want to change, but same thing on defense. I actually, all my teams in the league have all three of these set to ignore because I'd rather just let the game play out the way it's going to play. So, the last piece of this is recruiting. So an important thing around recruiting, and people get lost in this, is recruit the players that are best for your system. Don't recruit based on prestige. Don't recruit based on stars, whatever, right? You want to recruit those players that are best for you. So when you look at this, and again, here it tells you the pipelines, right? So Rhode Island apparently is great. Unfortunately, my coaches all recruit well in places that are not hotbeds of football. So, but I'll leave that alone. But when you look at recruits, one of the things that you want to do is, and because I don't, is start with recommended players. These are people who generally you probably have a chance of getting, as opposed to you going after like the number one ranked person with a prestige of like 40. You're probably not going to get that guy. But what you want to do early on is scout the players. And the reason for scouting these players is it will, let me go here, is by scouting, I always start with scouting one. So I have like 21 scholarships. I have 73 scouting points. What that means is I'm not going to be able to interview all the players in week one. So what I'll probably do is scout all the players for one so I get a sense of what they are. And then I will interview everybody else. So what you'll see me do is like it's just say these are my players, right? They're not, but I would just set them to one, and then I would interview as many as I could. And if you notice, it takes away 5 every time you interview. So if you do the math, it quickly will help you figure out how many you can interview. So 21 points. I had 73 to begin with, so I can do 21 points to interviews for 21 or whatever the number is I want to. I'm sorry, 21 scouting points. But if I wanted to scout 25 players, it'd be 25. And then I have 73, so you just do the math at that point, and you'll be able to figure out how many others you can interview. Now, the other thing I do is when I offer scholarships, I try to phone call everybody in week one. The key with outreach is you want to get a phone interview in almost immediately because that starts a lot of the interest. And then what you want to do is on your number one candidate, you want to try to invite them to the game as early on as you can. And again, that gets their interest up. But the most important outreach components actually for figuring out who's best for you is going to be a home visit in the attending high school game. Those will give you a lot more information about the player and whether they fit your model or not. Home visit will help you understand what they really care about, so that way you can modify the recruiting. Because what you'll see here is personality. And once you do your scout, you'll get personality ratings, and now you'll be able to start to figure out what you put here. So if, for instance, they care about market size and they care about playing time, you're going to max those out so that way you get the best chance. Coaching grades will give you kind of what your coach thinks about them. And then recruit opinions. Now again, coaching grades counts on your coach's ability to assess ability to scout. If they've got really low scores, don't worry about attending high school games because you're not going to get a good feed off of that. But if they do, you'll want to do that as early as you can. home visits help you just to be able to figure out, do you really have a chance with this person? And what really matters most to them? And then here, you're going to want to look at these stats to figure out, does this person fit? So it's always good to scout as many people as you can in the beginning, see about fit, and if, for instance, I'm doing an RPO, again, I want intelligence to probably be in the B range. I want speed to be in the B range. Hands doesn't really matter, and I want accuracy to be in the B range, and agility to be in the C range. So I'm going to try to focus on those people, and if they don't have it, I'm not going to do it. The other thing is watch out for flags. If the person is just low in team and low in individual personality, stay away from them. And then sometimes you'll actually get flags. Like there's one that's called Diva. I will never go for them. There's another one called Troublemaker. If you see them, just steer clear. Because those are going to be the people who get suspended for different reasons. Again, endurance does matter, so make sure that you're looking at these type physique and athleticism, because if they're really, really low, you may not want to go after that player because they're probably going to be hurt all the time. So that's how I would begin. I'm going to kind of show you, so this is how it looked when I first started. And then I'll show you real quickly how it looks now. So don't look at the 4 down. When I first started this, I thought I was gonna use 4 linemen, and it turns out I didn't. So I've had success so far. And what you'll notice really quickly is if we go to dashboard is Maryland is undefeated. I've had a pretty good run. Mostly because I haven't played anybody who has a winning record, but it's generally working. I have Iowa coming up, and if I were to game plan them, and I'm not going to go into this in detail, I'd look at these box scores and figure out what they're doing, which side they're running against. So if I look at this, and I tend to look at the wins, not the losses. I go to play analysis. It kind of gives me an idea of what they're doing. So on first down, they're running the ball a lot. So that probably means first and short, first and 10, they're running. And then they're passing on second, or on first and medium, and first and long. And then I just do that. And then I'm also looking to see what side are they running to, because that'll tell me where I should position my people. Now, if they're really good and they're balancing out their attack, it's going to be hard to see that. But it also tell me where they're successfully running a lot of times, so I can move people around to compensate for that. And also I can see what did the other team do well. So blast right seems to have worked occasionally for them, but I'm looking at all the different plays, and I may add those plays into my playbook. But if you look at my strategy so far, you kind of get a sense of what I was talking about earlier. Is you'll see is I'm running an I formation spread, SG4, largely passing the ball. I change my play based on like what I just showed you. My game planning is again not too dissimilar than what I mentioned earlier. And then you notice the formation of what I told you earlier. Because I'm focusing on I formation spread, I've done my formations. And then custom playbook, each week I go in and I adjust this. So again, using the mantra of running plays need to be higher than 3, passing plays need to be higher than 4. What you'll notice is I've already trimmed off quite a few plays. I'm probably going to trim that one out because it's pretty low. And then I'm watching to see, do I get a lot of interceptions? And if I'm getting interceptions, then I should get rid of those plays. I don't have any that are like that, so my offense is going pretty well. And then the same thing here is I'm looking at this. Anything above 3.5, I want to trim it out. And I've trimmed quite a few out already. And then I added new plays. I want to try to keep 10 as much as I can. And then on the pass side, you see this more is, again, each week I go in and trim. Anything above 4.5, I want to trim it out. but I can live with a 4.8 and a 4.7. I would probably trim these out, mostly just because they're at 6, but I do have an INT on each. But those will probably get pulled out, and I'll be at 10. I don't like going below 10. And that's purely arbitrary, by the way. And then when you look at the depth chart, what you'll notice is, again, um, how I decided to do it was similar to what I mentioned at the beginning. My staff hasn't really gotten much better. Um, and by the way, it changes. So when I save the file, Latrell kind of changed a little bit. Um, but again, I am focused on all the right things and it's working. So I will do a whole playbook and game planning video for 22. But the key takeaway here is when you start the game is really think about what your system is. If you care more about the system than the team, then go find a team that matches the system you want to play, build that, use some of the things I talked about to help hone in on what type of formations to run and things like that. But if you care more about the team, then focus on what you have available and then go from there. So hopefully this helps you. And if you like the video, come take a look at us at SNCFL.us or take a look at SimNation.net. I'll put the links in the post. But we have Discord, we have Slack, we have forums. Definitely, if you want to join a great league, SNCFL is one. It feeds into WWPF, which is the pro league. Running Draft Day Sports Pro Football 22. And it's just a good community. We help each other a lot, but hopefully these videos help you. I will focus more on RPO and pistol in a future video, as well as just how do I do game planning. SNCFL is in week 5 right now, and generally I'm doing well. Maryland's undefeated. That's not a shock. They're, again, a high prestige team, unlike real life. And then I have Oklahoma and I have Washington State. I run different offenses and defenses, and like Maryland is a traditional RPO. Oklahoma's a pass-heavy attack, and then of course Washington State is my more option run-heavy squad. Washington State plays an aggressive blitzing defense. Maryland plays a more conservative defense. And then Oklahoma, I'm still trying to find our identity on defense. But I've managed to take a lot of these lessons I just kind of shared with you, that when I take over a new team, I immediately look at that. I don't tend to pick teams based on systems. I like running different systems at different teams. But what I do look for is, as soon as I take them, I do all the things I told you, is look at the coaching staff, look at your players, make decisions based on the players of what you can and can't do, and then really then focus your plays and your formations on what the players are capable of doing. So if you don't have great defensive linemen, you're probably not going to want to run defensive formations where linemen are critical, like the 4-3. You need to have really good defensive linemen because they or what stop they're the ones that are going to get the pass rush and also stop the run. Whereas in a 3-4, your linebackers are more important. And then of course, as you move into like the 5 defensive back, 6 defensive back schemes, your defensive backs are very important. And generally speaking, if I remember correctly, Washington State runs a 3-3-5, and last season their leading sacker was actually a cornerback. Because I blitzed all the time off the edges. So just take a look at that, and then from a recruiting perspective, recruit for what you need for your system. Don't recruit based on prestige. Really take a hard look at the skill sets. Try to get that home visit in if you've got a good staff that can actually tell you stuff. Try to get the home visit in so you understand what the person really wants, and then if you've got staff that have good scouting abilities, try to get those visit high school games in as early as possible, and then match your recruiting strategy to what they actually care about. And what you should be able to do is, over the course of a few seasons, is really start to build a powerhouse. And then just keep building and keep recruiting. And like you saw, what I did is keep tweaking your playbooks to just continue to make sure you're focusing on the best plays. And again, the beauty is they added a new scheme with pistol, a new scheme with RPO, those jet sweeps, those end arounds. There's a lot of things you can do offensively that are pretty cool, and there's some good new defensive plays as well. So that's it for now. And if you have any questions, drop them here or just come on to SimNation and ask the question, and we'll help you as best as we can. So thank you.